Discovery, go and throttle up.
You finished those errands? Errands? You finished those errands? Finish those errands? 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 You finished those errands? No, I have not finished those errands. I will never finish those errands. Don't you get it? K3 is continuing the sub they got from Yuck. Thank you. Very nice. How are you? How's everybody? Everybody good? How's everybody doing? Rite Aid had a 2-for-1 deal on Ben & Jerry's. Oh, very nice. I'm at work. Work ain't what it used to be. Oh. You good? It's Wednesday. Okay. Very good. It's finally summer. Summer's here, and the time is right for launching in the street. Wait. That doesn't sound... I don't think that's how that works. Alright. Well, let's get into it, shall we? How are you? How is everybody? Everybody good? It's really bad that I want to cool back down under 10C a little bit. Nothing to note for today. Tomorrow is race day, so I guess you can say things are looking better. Tomorrow's race day? Who's racing tomorrow? Wait, I'm confused. Cirrus, you can just say it's over 100 degrees, okay? Just say it's over 100 degrees. I'll take the heat, thank you very much. I want the heat. And Discord stopped working. Okay, that's good. Can you not? Just see the stupid controller just flipping over and over and over there. Out of the corner of my eye. Do you have any tips on flying the rockets with WAS&D? I'm new to Kerbal. Give me a second, Soapy. I'm still waking up, man. Don't make big inputs. Do stuff like this. If you want to go into one direction or the other, tap the keys like that. That'll give, with the SAS on, that'll give the SAS time to compensate in between keystrokes. So, yeah, just want to pitch over real slow, just tap the keys a couple of times. Modulate your directional controls. Okay. Tree, what's going on? Tree, you never showed me pictures of your truck. I'm disappointed. You never showed me pictures. Oh. Guys, I gotta show you this real quick. Check this out. Ready? Look at that. You wanted a market for commercial human spaceflight, it's here. AX 1, 2, 3, and 4, all now confirmed to fly on SpaceX Dragon. Look at that. So, that prompted me to tweet. Who gets it? Who gets it? Come on. Who gets it? Somebody. Please. Ah, thank you. Okay, Treat. That's fine. That's fine. There are 4 flights! Anyway, yeah, that's pretty cool. 4 flights on Dragon. We're going to have a fleet of dragons. And it's going to be pretty awesome. Speaking of dragons, CRS-22 is launching tomorrow. There's that. Which is pretty neat. Why did your Picard have a German accent? That wasn't a German accent. You're just hearing incorrectly. What is it with you today? First you can't read, then you can't write, then you Photoshop things and then claim you don't. Rocket Lab was able to replicate the second stage failure. Oh boy. Well, that's good. What was it? Yeah, Dread, right? I'm more of a measure of a man kind of guy. That's my favorite episode. Nice. Makes me wonder if Starliner has a chance to get contracts like this when it's operational. It's not that much more expensive than Dragon. possible. Starliner isn't a bad system, Raja. I'll say it once, I'll say it again. It's not bad. It's actually a pretty good little piece of equipment from everything that I've seen. And don't get me wrong, I don't know anything. It's not anything that you guys couldn't go and look up. I just like to dig more. I like it. One of my favorite things about Starliner, I could cite a couple of specific examples why I like it. One, first and foremost, it's got shuttle tiles on it. Shuttle tiles and Nomex. I don't hate that. No, shuttle parts aside, I like that Starliner has a mechanical backup control system. So it has multifunction displays, right? But it also has mechanical backups for everything. Now, one could argue that that would be more complicated in this day and age. I think with spaceflight, you need to basically... With spaceflight, I think it's better to have a jailbroken spacecraft, so to speak, and have, like, complete access to the thing, and part of that is having manual backups. That's one of my favorite things. That's one of my things about Starliner that I really like. Starliner is worlds ahead of the rest of the game. They're already doing humanless testing. Oh, Tiradra said that. Yeah, okay. They seem to be pretty hush-hush about it right now, but in a post they said they were able to replicate the failure shortly after Stage 2 ignition. The engine computer detected the conditions for flight were not met and performed a safe shutdown. Interesting. Interesting. Alright. In terms of whether it's going to get contracts, I have no idea, dude. I hope it doesn't end up like Antares. Antares is a good little rocket, but all Antares is... Antares was solely built to get a resupply contract for the space station. That's it. All Starliner was doing is the reason why OFT1 didn't go right, guys, is because Anakin was flying. He tried spinning. That's a good trick. And then it went left. And the flight controller said, Anakin, what are you doing? Excuse me, one truck. I'm going to make a sprint, I think, next week, Grav. Either that or the week after to get this thing done. Yeah. I got a sprint to finish this SSTO. And, yeah, then we'll go from there. We're going to work on the big boy's arrow shell today. Large Chungus SSTO. I'm going to guess Starliner will get Taurus contracts after it completes OFT1. We didn't get the Taurus OFT1. Yeah, maybe. Is the big SSTO going to be for crew and cargo, or are you going to adjust for the small one? I'm kind of thinking that the big one should just do everything, especially with the configurable payload bay. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Is Large Chungus the official name? Oh no, that's an internal name, fellas. That's an internal name. Don't worry. NASA themselves said they focused on SpaceX's software testing, citing that Boeing was a veteran company, so they gave them more freedom, and it was a mistake. Yeah, no, they shouldn't have done that. They should have been equally up Boeing and SpaceX's tailpipe, but they're gonna be up Boeing's tailpipe now. No, the other thing is that Starliner is ready to go. It's been ready to go since, well, shoot, a couple months. It's waiting for an open spot on the ISS. What is it with you guys and wanting to eject the crew capsule out of a payload bay? Everybody says to do that, Hellfish. That's about as useful as an ejection seat on a car. I.e., no. No, not a good idea. Not a good idea at all. I don't want to do that. Do you want to do that? But it's KSP. Oh, I'm sorry. Does KSP have some weird magical gumdrop physics that I don't know about? Don't say Kraken drives. You know what I mean. Is there some weird magical gumdrop smiles physics that, you know, makes stuff that would kill you in real life not kill you here? What were you doing? Oh, I was quoting Spaceballs, Chandra. Yeah. You're really a spaceball. Thanks, sir. Yeah, we gotta just make the big version of this now. Did that launch already go? Yep. Element, what's up, dude?
Go and throttle up.
Chungus, 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 chungus. That's right. Yeah, Jim. I launched it. Now we're gonna work on the big one. Here's the big one. Do you love it? Raspberry. Raspberry. Why are all those wings? I don't know. It's for mass simulating things, guys. I basically put all the wings that I thought I would need to make the arrow shell for this, and all the panels that I thought I would need to make the arrow shell for this, and it turns out there's a little bit of a thing here going on. Check this out. Alright, I showed this yesterday, but I found this. We found this yesterday, and I'll show it to you again. Check it out. So one of these panels right here, the SPT06 structural panel, right? 10 kilos, okay? So 22 pounds. Not bad, right? This panel right here, which you need 4 of these to cover that surface area, more or less, is 40 kilos, 88 pounds, right? Well, that thing, if this is 40 kilos and you need 4 of these, right? This thing, how much should this thing be? 160 kilos, right? Uh-oh. It's not. It's 150. So basically, that will get rid of my scaling problems, because this is basically lighter than this. Is it just me, or do you look brighter? I changed the lights, dude. Notice how the B is not chroming anymore? I'm wearing my maroon shirt. Nope, nobody did a typo. That was totally intended, and just shut up. And just shut up. So that means when I go to make the arrow shell, it'll scale in size, but it won't scale in mass, which is pretty cool. Which means I mean, we did a bunch of testing here with the SSTO, right? We did a ton of testing. And I have my bilobe tanks just like we did before, and proportionally they have the same amount of fuel. And then I did a little bit of an extension job here on these tanks here. But I added the payload bay in this mass simulator file here, right? And I added 18 tons of payload, and look at the delta V numbers. We also have an orbital maneuvering system in vacuum that gives us an extra 150 delta V. So we're talking 4178 plus 156. That's enough to go up to 100 by 100, do some maneuvers, and then come back down and have fuel left over. Because remember, that's 18 tons of payload. It's pretty nuts, man. And now that's not just because of the panels. But it's not just because of the panels, but that does help. I guess, John, yeah, maybe. No worries, it's going to be fixed next patch. No, Scuzzled, it's not going to be fixed next patch. Nobody saw anything. You didn't see anything at all, right? I don't know what you're talking about. Everything scales proportionally. I'm a penguin? I'm not a penguin, I'm a freaking bear. Bear. How's the shuttle going? Well, Jack, you tell me. How do you think it's going? Are you winning, son? Yeah, Dad. These are not the panels you're looking for. Every time I try to sound like Obi-Wan Kenobi, I end up sounding like John Lennon. Imagine all the stormtroopers missing the shots. What is that funny looking shirt? Funny looking shirt? Funny looking shirt? Funny looking shirt. Bro, you live in a tropical climate. You're not allowed to have a hockey team. Imagine playing hockey and then going outside and there's palm trees.
Discovery, go at throttle up.
We don't need to imagine stormtroopers missing. Dude, all I want is a Star Wars from like a stormtrooper's perspective. Like, you guys remember Republic Commando? That's all I want. I want the stormtroopers to actually live up to their name. Because I honestly can't stand fairy tale nonsense where, like, the enemy is really powerful, the enemy's really powerful, the enemy's really powerful. You go to fight the enemy, you just kill them all. It's like watching Under Siege again. You guys ever see Under Siege? There's no conflict in that movie. Under Siege and Under Siege 2, there's no conflict in those movies. It's just Steven Seagal beating the trash out of people gratuitously for like 2 hours straight. There's no conflict. Yeah, I don't know, Tree. It's ridiculous. You take that back right now. 0. There are 4 flights! Dude, I was scared nobody would get it. You've ever seen Under Siege 2? There's no conflict. It's just people beating the trash out of it. It's just Steven Seagal just breaking people's arms all day. Yeah, kind of like Battlefront 2, exactly. Could be Broken Arrow. Also no conflict. Can, like, the Empire actually be good at being freaking antagonists for a change? This is ridiculous. Since Disney got their hands on things, we've gone from suck to blow. Like, I don't know about you guys, dudes, but as I get older, I can't stand, this is the bad guy, that's the bad guy, I'm the good guy, I have to kill the bad guy. I hate that. I can't stand it. It's like insulting my intelligence. Because you know, like, okay, what are the bad guy's motivations? Oh, he has no motivations, he's just a bad guy. It's like, I'm with you on that one. Hey, Flash Wolf. I'm intelligent. Yep. Jeremy Irons is the best bad guy in Die Hard 3. See, okay, Hibbit, every character in Die Hard 3, every bad guy in Die Hard 3 has a pretty clear motivation, right? But it's cool because they, you know, they kind of fake it, you know. In Sri Lanka, the 6 members of the Asian Dawn. I read about them in Time magazine. I like it when the antagonist is compelling. Like you kind of understand the bad guy, but you're like, no, you've chosen poorly. Yeah, well, Xerax, Thanos. Yeah, Thanos in Avengers they make him out to be like that. But see, his logic is fundamentally flawed because he could just do this and double the size of the universe instead of, you know, killing everyone. But that's something that doesn't translate over well from the comic books. And I'm not even a comic book nutcase, and I know this. I'm not even a comic book nutcase, and I know that Thanos is obsessed with death. He literally wants to marry death. Yeah. Right? Have you ever seen the Disney version of Toy Story? They wanted Woody to be the bad guy, and the good guy was Buzz, and all the toys pushed Woody out the window in the end. Toy Story is not... I'm not gonna say that it's not a real movie, but there are parts of that movie when I watched when I was a kid, I was like, this is... What? Yeah, Hibbit in the comic books, that's right. That's right. I just want the bad guy to be actually, like, at least compelling. At least make the bad guy like an anti-hero or something. And have, like, a redemption arc or something. Like the original Star Wars. Oh, that's funny how that works, man. Holy crap. But then again, the Stormtroopers still suck in the original one. These aren't the droids we're looking for. Sir, we actually need to see their identification. It's an old Star Wars joke. Anyway, moving on. So, this is where we're at here. Let's go right here. I'm not 100% on the fuel tank design here. That's where we're going to start. We're going to work on the fuel tanks today. So, is the build done? Oh, yep. Totally finished, guys. Yeah, Jolly, how'd you know? It's my new version with a fork wing. Yeah, there you go, D-Pick. Yeah, it's when we want to go feast on the atmosphere of Kerbin, we stick a fork in it. Oh, I left a note for myself. It says, build the aeroshell, doofus. I want to see how the fork flies. Not very good, man. Did the original SSTO fly? Yeah. But it was about 100... It was about 120 Delta V short. No, fork you. It looks like a mandolin. Yeah. Hey, Chief, what's going on? Hey, Adrian, what's going on? How you doing, buddy? Give me 1 second. I need to check something real quick. I'm just shooting a message on Discord. Sorry, I just thought of something. Baby SSDO looks nice. Yeah, so this thing worked, dudes, but it was short on Delta V. This best is used as a suborbital demonstrator. I'm just checking something. Yeah, Pigzig, it doesn't have enough to get into space. I mean, the X-33 probably would have been smaller than this, but... Give me 1 second, I need to check something. Yeah, that's what I thought. Adrian, it's bad. Your name reminded me. Festa de la Repubblica. Nice. It's a good day. That reminded me. I had to go look it up to be sure. Will Freedom 10 retire when the SSTO is flying? Yes, Beer. The kids caught a cold, so we're a bit tired. Oh, jeez. Get those vitamins. Get those vitamins in there, Chief. Have you tested water landings in rough terrain? No, Jackery, I haven't. And I won't. How about we make the thing fly and make it get back to the runway and make sure that I actually, you know, can steer it while it's going Mach 3 or 4. That's probably the better way to do that, don't you think? So, fellas, alright, sorry, I need to... Peter says, will do. We have a crew version of this. Ando, I'm probably going to keep this as a suborbital demonstrator, to be honest with you. For now, we need to work on the big one. I'm frankly out of time. I got my testing data. I got what I needed. I'm still a little bit worried about re-entry, but with the verniers, it should be fine. So today I'm going to start on the LV-5B, which is the big boy version, and kind of go from there. The first thing we need to do is work on the tank design. That's exactly what I did with the other one. So once again, the reason why this thing just looks like a giant fork is because what we were doing is mass calculations. I tallied up all the mass that I would need to put all this stuff together, all the wings and all the panels that I needed to make the aeroshell, give or take, and then I overestimated it. And then we put 18 tons of payload in the payload bay. I put an orbiter maneuvering system on there, and I have some extra mass up here to take into account any other components that we might need. All the landing gear that this thing might need, etc., etc. The control surfaces, everything. And we're just kind of crunching some numbers, fellas. And we crunched some numbers, and it showed that, unless these numbers are lying to me, we have 3,900 Delta V with 18 tons of payload, which is... It's the 11th, Neo. You've only seen the small one. Well, Peter, this is the outline for the big one. This is like my model. So what I do when I build is I start with a small one. I start with a small kind of mock-up, almost, like this. See, I did the same thing here with the tiny one. And then we kind of refined that design, like you'd make like a clay pot or something. I would just slowly kind of sculpt it out to what I need. This was the demo. This is like, I did this after one day of building, and that eventually got refined into prototype 10, which is this. And we honed it over time. Right? The other one's just going to be a big version of this. Could you carry a Mark III cockpit in front of the payload bay? I could. It might... We would take a hit to payload capacity, which is why I'm not sure where I... 50 Gs? Why not? Which is why I'm, like, not 100% sure where I should stand on this, right? Like... I don't know. That might be a little too much. It puts me down to 3871, which is not really what I'm thinking. It looks okay. Yeah, Sneaky, it doesn't look bad. But yeah, we got to build out the aeroshell, and I kind of have to go from there. It's also important to note that all these mass estimations that I did here are completely... I always rounded up, like, to a factor of 1.5. Like, I'll be honest, this right here in 2x symmetry, that's all the wings that I thought I would need for the aeroshell, and I doubled it just to be 100% sure. And then these ore tanks right here represent fairings. Fairings, docking ports, struts, everything that I would need. And these are all overestimations as well. The ohms pods are overestimations. Everything is an overestimation here. And we're still coming up with 3,900 Delta V. I'm not exactly sure why. I'll be honest with you. I'm not exactly sure why that's happening. I guess when you scale up in Kerbal, it makes more sense, which is true in real life as well, for what it's worth. I mean, that's how real life happens. We building a radiator on the front? No, that's just all... I took all the parts that I thought I needed to build out the aero shell for this. Put a payload bay in there and put 18 tons of mass in the payload bay. All the landing gear, everything. All the fairings for the tanks. Everything that I thought I would need to put this together. These ones have 150. That one has 300 for all the struts that I'd need to put this thing together correctly. And dude, honestly, it's not bad. It really is not a big deal. It's 3,900 sea level, Berg. Vacuum, it goes up to 4,178. And then on top of that, I have 156 Delta V up here. What payload you getting? Just base, I'm aiming for about 18 tons payload to low Kerbin. I'm actually not too incredibly worried about building this. It should scale just fine. I'm worried about the launch pad. This vehicle's dry mass is 150 tons. Can't lift that with the crane. We're gonna need to make something. And what we make is gonna have to be based off of the LV5 launch pad prototype. So this is back on the table. The launch table, got him. This is back on the table. I'm gonna have to. I really don't have a choice. But this should scale pretty well. You just add more hinges if you want it to move more. Oh my, what is this? Are you talking about this Trafalgar, or are we talking about the big one? The big SSTO? No horizontal takeoff possible? Well, Just Space... It's a rocket, dude. You gotta understand that. It's a rocket. It's not an airplane. Right? Like, I know it's hard... I know it's, like, difficult to extrapolate that, right? Like, because you think about Venture Star and you're like, oh, it lands on a runway. Why can't it take off from a runway? Well, I mean, amongst other things, the thing's not designed to take off with mass. It's not designed to take off with fuel in it. Even if you could take it off, in order for it to fly like an airplane, it needs to be out of fuel, right? So, in my mind, and please, if I'm thinking about this incorrectly, you tell me, dude. You know more than me about this. In my mind, that doesn't make any sense, because that's about as absurd as saying, hey, let's take an Antares rocket and put landing gear on it and launch it off the runway. Oh, Falcon 9's reusable. Let's take a Falcon 9 and send it down the shuttle launch facility, right? That doesn't make any sense, because it's a rocket. You know, the only time it does plane things is when it's empty, you know? Right? So I don't want to do that. Yeah, you're taking a nasty grav loss. Exactly. I mean, it's not Skylon, dude. I wish we had the rapiers unlocked. Speaking of that. I mean, Ando, there's concepts, and I'm sure you know about this. I'm just saying it for everybody else's benefit, dude. I know you know this. There's Skylon, which is a real-life horizontal takeoff, horizontal landing SSTO. Skylon is something. It has the potential. Here, let me get a good picture of it. Skylon has the potential to be able to basically just take off like an airplane. Take off like an airplane and fly right up into space. Because of its Sabre engines is what they're called. The Rapier engine in KSP is based off of these Sabre engines. What does the Sabre engine do? Alright, this is going to get complicated for a second if you're curious, alright? This is going to get a little weird, okay? So, bear with me on this one, alright? It's going to get this is nerd stuff, alright? So, I think it's called the Synthetic Air Breathing Rocket Engine, or I think that's the acronym, or the Sabre engine. Long story short, I'll try to make this as simple as possible, okay? You have an intake, and the intake has a variable geometry cone in the front, all right? This is designed to feed air into the engine at high speed, more or less, just like an SR-71, okay? And then you have an air conditioner. I'm serious. There is an air conditioner built into the front of the engine. It's called a pre-cooler. The pre-cooler is using a closed-loop helium cooling system and exchanges heat with the liquid hydrogen propellant. This, when the intake is open, right, works like a jet engine. You have a compressor, okay? You have a compressor, and then you have a combustor, and then you have a jet engine. Okay, so it works like a jet engine. Jet engine that runs off hydrogen. It's a hydrogen jet. Okay, using pre-cooled intake air, so you could basically make the jet engine at high altitudes. All right. Now, once it gets high enough, the atmospheric density gets too thin, and you cannot feed this thing air anymore. The intake closes. And then there's liquid oxygen inside of Skylon, and they feed liquid oxygen into the rocket engines. The jet engine and the hydrogen shuts off, and the hydrogen valves open into the rocket engine, and the rocket engine fires off using liquid hydrogen and liquid oxygen. It is a rocket engine and a jet engine with an air conditioner attached to the front and an SR-71 nose cone attached to the front of that, okay? So that's what the Sabre engine is. It combines all the best parts of a rocket engine and all the best parts of a jet engine to make one that does both of those things. This is really cool. Now, here's the nerd stuff. Movable center bodies will allow you to feed supersonic air in at high speeds. This is a variable geometry center body here, just like the SR-71, okay? I could show you, I could explain it, or I could just show you this picture. So, basically, this nose cone, at high speed, the air will bounce off of it, and basically the nose cone can retract. It actually moves back and forth. It can retract or expand to basically take the center body shock, which is kind of like the wake that happens at supersonic speeds. If you think of a boat going through the water, the wake that it leaves. Now, keep in mind, water is not air. I understand that. It's just a visualization. Okay. At high speeds, when planes go supersonic, they leave a wake. That's called the bow shock. All right. This intake is designed to feed that bow shock, feed the wake right into the engine, similar to a trimaran, a vessel with 3 keels. Same concept. All right. The bow breaks the water and it gets compressed in between the inner keel and the outer keels, and it lifts the ship out of the water and makes it go faster. All right. This is the air equivalent of that. All right. You can the nose cone can move back and forth, and it can take that bow shock and vector it right into the engine, basically giving you additional air. More air gets into the jet engine at higher speeds. Okay. And then from there, it goes into a pre-cooler. The pre-cooler is a heat exchanger that's designed to flow air at very high speeds. It's basically a radiator, all right? But the radiator is working on a helium pre-cooler loop, or a helium coolant loop, all right? So Skylon has helium, right? And because they're using liquid hydrogen, they pump the liquid hydrogen into the jet engine, and some of it gets tapped off into an exchanger with helium, all right? So the helium goes from this radiator, and then it goes to another exchanger, takes the cold out of the hydrogen, because hydrogen's really freaking cold. The hydrogen gets heated up. It goes into the preburner here, and then the cold helium comes back in here and flows into the heat exchanger and cools your intake air. They're exchanging the heat with liquid hydrogen, which is really cool. That's really smart, right? And then from there, you basically just have a jet engine, and then the jet engine is attached to a rocket engine with a combustor. That's the easy part. This is the crazy part. Yeah, Chief, exactly. I decided to give up Stonkmo. I can't handle it. No, Brimo, hodl, diamond hands, hodl. Yeah, it's a really, 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 really crazy idea. The helium pre-cooler loop is the hard part, and that's the part that Reaction Engines is working on. But if they can get it right, most of what you're taking up into space with Skylon is liquid hydrogen. And liquid hydrogen it's pretty light, to be honest. It's really light comparatively to liquid oxygen. And these hydrogen tanks make it work like jet engine. There's your make the jet engines work at low altitude. There's your helium tank, and the blue is your liquid oxygen tank, and then there's a payload bay right in the center. Oh, they got another helium tank back there. Glide Path, 17-month resub. So the idea here is that you can take a jet engine and you can take a rocket engine. You can combine them into one. The Rapier engines in KSP do this. That might be orbital maneuvering system. Yeah, Ohm's propellant. Yeah, it could be. It could be. You might be right. Could be just for RCS. So Skylon is about as big as a 747, if I'm remembering right. And the thing is that Skylon is a small sat launcher. It's just a small satellite launcher. That's the price you pay when you make an SSDO. But this thing, the Sabre engine, really, I mean, that's still pretty ridiculous of what this thing can do. It can't launch big stuff into space. That payload bay is like maybe a quarter of the size of the shuttle's payload bay. It's not very big, but still the potential is insane. Because you could just take this thing. You don't need to have a runway near the equator. You don't need to have that. The thing can take off like an airplane, fly to the equator, whoop, right up into space. It's actually a pretty insane design. So you can horizontal takeoff, horizontal landing stuff. Nobody's ever done it, but they are theorizing that it could be done. Didn't they condense the liquid oxygen on the way up? Not sure. So, horizontal takeoff, horizontal landing SSDOs can be done. But vertical takeoff, vertical landing SSDOs is what I'm sticking with this time around. Because, I mean, part of the reason is that I don't have Rapier engines. I don't have them unlocked. I'm close. Rapier engines are all the way over here. That's another 1,500 science. I just unlocked the shuttle parts. So it's going to take a second before we even get that close. Now, with that being said, I did build something like Skylon in a previous save, and it is insane. It has 18-ton payload capacity. You could just yeet stuff right up into space. Yeah, and I can fly to I can fly basically to the equator, so we could use it out at the desert. I can land at the desert. You can refuel it, take off from the desert, fly back, land at KSC. Like it's pretty ridiculous. Yeah, Enterprise is what I called it. It was a pretty awesome plane, and especially nowadays, like all it needed was a hangar, a fueling truck, and a crane to put payloads in it, and that's it. We could fly the thing right up into space. Hey, Eileen, how are you? And then I made the Thick Monk. I'll show you the Thick Monk real quick. Real quick. Last, please. Hi for taking off from Nuki. Stone's throw away from you. Yeah. Lava Eagle. Why is the engine curved? Point through the center of mass. So, you know how, like, picture the space shuttle's engines in your mind, okay? Picture the space shuttle's engines in your mind. See those? See how these engines are angled up? Why are they angled up? Well, they're above the center of mass. Skylon's engines, because they need to simultaneously be a jet and a rocket engine at the same time, jet engines are usually mounted low on airplanes, right? They're usually mounted low on airplanes. And that's where they need to be for it to be able to take off. The idea is that if you have your jet engines below your center of mass, you can nose the plane up easier, right? Same thing. You can get better rotation that way. But you also have to make sure that your rocket engines are pointed right through your center of mass, or you're not gonna, or the thing's just gonna spin out of control. So they curve the back of the engine down, so the rocket engines are pointed right through. We made the thick monk. This is the engineering mode save. I took it and I made a, Hey, Kunin Joe. Long time no see. How are you? How's things? Give me 1 second. There it is, the Space Goose. I took a Skylon, my Skylon design, and I doubled it up. I put 2 Skylon hulls next to each other and then put a passenger area above it and then just doubled the engines. What's state of NASA? I don't know, Bauxy. I've never seen something like this before. Yeah. The Space Goose. Chat called it the thick monk because it looks like a squirrel with acorns in its mouth. Think State of the Union, but for NASA. Yeah, I mean... yeah, no, I know, I've just... John, what I meant more was that I've never seen this done before. Jim didn't do this, to my recollection. I mean, he may have, or may have just missed it. I don't know. Yeah, this thing is nuts. Crazy plane, just flies right up into space. No payload capacity though. It's just it's a 747 that flies into space basically. But yeah, that thing was pretty cool. They're supposed to select the next Discovery mission. What's this plane for? It's a space airliner. I built it in engineering mode a little while back. I designed it for mission mode, but I never used it. Chimp, a 747, a space 747 needs a jacuzzi and a VIP deck. It flies into space, and it needs a jacuzzi. Right. Oh dear. All right. So here we go. All right, so this is what we need to make, huh? Okay. I don't know, Just Space. We'll see. See what happens. Yeah, this thing is gonna need... It's gonna need a lot. We gotta work with the tank design now. Yeah, hip, you like that? No static fire for a booster fill? Interesting. Isn't this one too narrow? No, the arrow shell, no, should be fine. Where the arrow shell goes, it should be okay. I'm just thinking where I need to start. Should we start just making the arrow shell and then make the tanks fit in the arrow shell? Or, I mean, that's not really how I designed the other one. The other one was not designed that way. I don't have the big landing gear unlocked, Chief. I'm still not 100% sold on the front here. I wish the adapter had the same length the entire way. That would be really nice. It's a configurable payload bay, RJ. I'll launch whatever I want on it. Alright. Alright. Don't save. So this is LV5B. Let's work on the forward tank. Forward bilobe tank mastercraft file. Modified 6221. So let's just start with something like this. Okay, let me think. Nice, Phil. Do you lose Delta V by angling the engines inward like that? You don't lose Delta V, you lose TWR. Karate. Especially when you're down here. If your engine... So force of gravity is going this way, right? If your engine's going this way, not all your engine is being used to combat the force of gravity. So you get into a little bit of trigonometry there, and cosine loss is inhibited on the vehicle. So like the shuttle engines, when the shuttle took off, dude, the 3 shuttle engines, which aren't pointing straight down, gave the vehicle a little bit of a slew off the pad. The shuttle, if you look very closely, the shuttle flies sideways off the pad. It slews towards the opposite side of the space shuttle. Why? Well, it's got 3 engines pointed this way, so it goes that way off the pad. Thing kind of goes and does a little drift-do up into space. Alright, so give me that. Let me make sure that that's right. Okay, so we'll work on the forward tank now. Alright. I gotta get my rulers out here. One of my longtime viewers, a good buddy of mine, Tessa in chat, I don't think he's here, came up with this awesome way to make rulers in KSP, basically using cubic octags. and struts. So if I run a strut from here to here, right? And I set something like this, right? Now, I can move this around, and we can make a ruler. And then I can extend this as long as I freaking want to, right? See that? I can extend that as long as I want. And I can use this to measure things. Or, well, not measure things. I can use it to get a straight line, for the most part. I'll tell you why I put it at 375 in a second, okay? So let me just move this, make sure it's out of the way. Make sure this can go as far as possible. There we go. All right. How did the mini version do yesterday? We didn't fly it yesterday. The mini version is pretty much done for the time being, Wookie. So now, we're going to build a fairing.
Discovery, go at throttle up. Discovery, go at throttle up.
Animal, what's up? 29-month resub. We measure to know. We know so we can measure more. That's right. Alright, so now we have a fairing, right? The reason why I measured it at 375 is because how I make these bilobe tanks. So, the X-37, right? Or not the X-37. The X-33 has had what's called a bilobe tank in it. So, in order to make this thing right, the fuel tanks basically needed to look like this. No, this isn't something from a horror movie. It's a bilobe tank. They needed to make the tanks basically conic. Because the whole thing is a giant cone. They needed to make the tanks bilobe conic. So, see that? It's like two fuel tanks intersecting at the center. Like a Siamese twin almost of fuel tanks, right? And how they did that was actually really, really crazy. In order to save mass and in order to make this shape, the hydrogen tanks on the X-33 were made out of carbon fiber. Now, I know what you're saying. We're like, oh, okay. A lot of people use carbon fiber. This was 25 years ago. Yeah. Like 1997, 1996. Yeah. Yeah. I have a bunch of pictures from the X-33 that I've been accumulating. I've been accumulating a little research folder here. Okay? Now, no, I'm not just using this as an excuse to show off a third. Look at the truck. Cars are a really easy way to date photos. That's a 96. That's a 96 F-250. Now, okay, that's the flame trench for the X-33, for the launch pad being made. Carbon fiber tanks in the late 90s. That is insane. That is not something that anyone would even bother doing until Peter Beck came along less than a decade ago. That's ridiculous. Lockheed was that far ahead. The problem is they couldn't get it to work right exactly, and that's kind of the reason why the program got canned. That and the launch market crashed in the late 90s, but that's another story. Back when Ferd was good. You like those box bodies, Goalie? I do too. I'm not really that much of a fan of, like, I don't like the trucks that came after it. I think they look stupid. Chevy, you will... I'm never going to live this down, but I like Ford trucks basically up until 97, and then... yeah, Super Duty is what I like after that. The F-150s throughout basically my tenure in high school are... Chevy made a better truck in the early 2000s. I'll go out right and say it. Chevy made a better truck. Yeah. Like from 2000 to 2005, those Chevy trucks, they're indestructible. Indestructible. You can't kill them. They have LS engines in them. You're not going to break it. And even if you do, who cares? Oh, geez, I blew the engine. $100 to replace it. Oh, well. I like the new stuff. The new Fords are nice, Merkers. I think those are cool. But I've always liked the Super Duties. But nothing replaces those old box bodies, man. Those box bodies are so cool. I love those trucks, dude. Yeah. It's the last of the all-steel trucks. There's no plastic on that thing. No plastic bumpers, no plastic fender wells. I like that. You spent 10 years in high school? Yeah, a lot of people go to college for 7 years. I know. They're called doctors. So, anyway, going back to this. Lockheed had composite tank design pretty much down by the early 2000s. Yeah, Goalie, I like that. I like that a lot. I like trucks that are useful. And they used an aluminum I don't think it was aluminum lithium. It was aluminum something. Actually, it was aluminum lithium for the LOX tank. They made the LOX tank heavier on purpose because of heavy nose. And that's part of the reason why I got our X33 to fly so well. I can't change tank materials. I can't make the materials anything. In real life, with rockets, you can play around with your propellants, and you can play around with your tank materials to get a certain result. So, what Lockheed did was they knew that these aero spikes would weigh the back of this thing down. Any re-entry vehicle is inherently, like that brings the engines back, like the shuttle, is inherently rearward mass heavy because you have engines out the back. Engines are heavy. Yeah, spoiler alert. So what Lockheed did was they came up with building a multi-lobe LOX tank out of aluminum. With these being composite and carrying liquid hydrogen, and this being aluminum carrying liquid oxygen, well, aluminum is heavier than carbon fiber last time I checked. I mean, it really depends. It really depends. But in this particular application, that's what they did. The other thing is that liquid oxygen can be stored at a much higher density. Does anybody know why? She got a lot of junk in the trunk. The space shuttle, she thick. Space shuttle's thick. She thick. Starship is too. Damn, boy, Starship be thick though. My dad managed to blow the exhaust headers off on his 01 Silverado. Yeah, Tars, I mean... Higher mass per atom. That's right, Altio. Pressurized H2 will squeeze through stuff. Yep. Hydrogen... Making a fuel tank that stores hydrogen and trying to put it at high pressure, trying to store hydrogen at high pressure, is like putting water in a bucket with holes in it. Yeah, it'll just go right through it. You try to squeeze it, you'll squeeze it, water will come out or hydrogen will come out like a sponge. Oh yeah, real big pain in the butt. That's part of the reason why on the external tank, right, they have that spray-on foam insulation to help keep the hydrogen cool so it doesn't boil off. Same with the Centaur, same with Delta IV. Yeah, that's really, really important. Hydrogen's a real big pain in the butt. Liquid oxygen can be stored at a much, 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 much higher density than hydrogen because it's well, literally 2 oxygen molecules are bigger than 2 hydrogen molecules. Seriously. I mean, think about it. You have a tank that's made out of aluminum, right? And if your hydrogen turns to gas, well, guess what? That hydrogen goes right through the aluminum like water through a screen. Because the hydrogen's small enough, it can go right through. Especially hydrogen gas. Yeah, it goes right through it. Big pain in the butt. Stock different fuel types I can dream. I'll take tank material construction, RJ. That's fine. But, see, stuff like that, I can't fake that in Kerbal. I can't change fuel density, and I can't change the tank materials. So, part of what I did to overcome this problem is glue a bunch of frigging panels to the front. So the thing freaking flies right. Yeah, that's basically, that's what happened. I had to overcome that problem. So, we put panels up there at the front and made the aero shell to get the thing to fly correctly. I assume it doesn't have to worry about surface tension like water does. Any liquid has surface tension, Kunajo. Oh, yeah. I've never seen liquid hydrogen floating around in space, Kunajo, but I've seen liquid oxygen floating around in space. SpaceX has shown it many times, kind of by accident, though. They didn't mean to do that. Liquid oxygen has surface tension. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, bud. Oh, yeah, bud. You said gas. You're a gas. Did you just fart? You know what, Kunajo? How you doing? Just on a side note. Did you just fart? Ew. Gross. How's things, man? So, not to put you on the spot, guys, but Kunajo was one of my first followers. Like 9 years ago. Yeah. Kunojo, I've known you for almost a decade. Good, been building some Gundam models? Cool. Dude, show me. Yeah, Kunojo was my first mod. Yep. That's cool, man. It's good to see you, pal. It might be a decade in a few months. It's good to see you, man. How you holding up? I haven't talked to you in a while. Good. All right. I know you guys all probably know this. Kunojo, you probably know this as well. You guys have seen the Gundam in Japan, the full-size Gundam, right? That's out on the islands in Tokyo Bay. I forget the name of the island. Here's some LH2 in space from the Saturn 1. You can easily see where Miko and ignition occur. Hydrogen? Oh, wow. Whoa, Ian. Dude, it's so clear. You could see right through it. That's weird, man. It's verboten water. Don't drink that. Let's not drink that. Holy crap, dude. Well, that's something else. It's the forbidden slushy. Alright. Alright, so we gotta make those bilobe tanks, guys. And part of what I do with the bilobe tanks is I clip tanks into each other up at the front. I basically have them inside of each other a little bit, right? Like Venn diagram style. But I don't like that. Not really a fan of doing... Not really a fan of clipping tanks. So my way of getting around it is I use a fairing to kind of take up the volume in this area here that would be taken up by this volume. I basically try to supplement the volume. If I'm going to clip tanks, I'm going to make a fairing around those tanks. One, for aerodynamic occlusion, so the vehicle flies correctly, right? And two, so basically I can make fuel tanks into any shape that I want, but the fairing has to take up the shape, roughly it has to take up the volume of the tank that's clipped. Because you can't place fuel in fuel. I mean, you kind of can if you're SpaceX because densified propellants, but that's another story. Space dong. Nice, nice. Good to know where your mind's at, Wookie. See? That's what I'm trying to make behind my head here. Yeah, Kyle. More milk per milk. Yeah, I've heard all about that. Alright, so the nose cone basically needs to go right to about here. I didn't make the fairing long enough, so we'll move these out like this. Sick. Alright, so let's go in here like this. See? I like the fairing to take up the volume of that is taken up by the tanks that is lost from the tanks clipping into each other. See? All this extra space in here is fuel tank in my mind. At least I'm safe inside my mind. good. Alright, so this looks good. Now I'm gonna go in and we'll grandparent strut everything. Actually, one thing. I need to make this shell wider at the front. The reason why I need to do that is because this is where the arrow shell is going to... Oh, no, that nose cone looks terrible. This is where the arrow shell is going to meet up with the tank. Yeah, that should be right. New Boca road closure for tomorrow, 3 to 5 to transport something. They're transporting the next section, dude. Pretty obvious. And now, because these are the center of mass of the tank is inside of the fairing wall. See that? Now, because of this, because of that, it's occluded. And this acts like one piece for the most part. The other thing we have to do is I opted for a lower nose cone with the design here. So these tanks need to shift a little bit. They need to shift up like that. I opted for the lower nose cone design. Interesting, Thomas. Interesting. See, and now this looks like a bilobe tank for the most part. It's close. Now for the nose cone is lowered. I wanted the nose cone to be lowered here, so something like that will do us right. As long as these tanks are still clipped in. I just want to move them up a little bit, and we want to move them off the center line. There. That's fine. Perfect. Can we color these tanks something different? Ooh. Neato. Actually, I'm going to keep the forward tanks black and white because, actually, what's that one? No. I'm going to keep them this color to, like, oh, it's the liquid oxygen tanks, and then the hydrogen tanks are going to be orange because orange rocket good. Orange rocket good. All right, so I'm going to remove the fuel out of these because I don't need fuel in them, right? I'm going to sit here, and now I got to run some struts. I don't expect anything. I'm not a rocket guy. I come here because of EJ. They also have one of the kits in Yokohama, and I do want to get one of those. It's beautiful. Oh, Kunajo, you'd go. Kunajo, you know what Akihabara is, right? In Tokyo, you know what Aki is, right? That place is nuts. I've been there, dude. It is unbelievable. Yeah. Oh, dude, I'm not even that too big into like I like Japan, right? But I'm not a weeb by any means, dude. Like but I appreciate that stuff. You know, it's cool. Like I dig it. What blew my mind in Japan is not like, you know, I went to Akihabara, I was expecting anime, but what I wasn't expecting was model railroading is huge in Japan. Huge. They, like, you go into these stores, you can get Gundam models, you can get, like, Mario models, all this crazy stuff, and model railroading. Like, they have stores that are like Best Buy, right? And the Best Buy has a model railroading section, which is awesome. It's so freaking cool. Yeah. Yeah, I'm sorry. Yeah. Dude, I've been to Aki. It's insane. In-freaking-sane, dude. HO, N scale, everything. No. I think there was Tamiya stuff there, drummer. Like RC cars, all the... Dude, like hot, like... Man... Can you imagine a freaking Best Buy or something? Or like a Micro Center having like a hobby section with like model trains in it? And like the model train section had like a huge setup and stuff in it. And it blew my mind. It blew my mind, dude. I forget the name of the store. What the heck was the store called? I don't know. In the US it would be Gun. Well, hey, those are cool too. Endo. Those are pretty neat. A lot of people have that for a hobby over here as well. And those are cool. I appreciate those too. I mean, can I like play with trains and also do the gun thing? Like, hey boo. I wouldn't mind that. Are we gonna watch State of NASA at 3? Yes sir. Let me just put my cross brace struts in here. Oh, see, Taradra, I knew I liked you. You're an HO guy. I like HO. HO was the scale I like the most, but I have at my parents' house, I have HO, S-gauge, old school S-gauge. I have an S-gauge train set from like 1955 or something. It's really cool. New Haven livery and everything. I have HO, I have S-gauge, I have 027, and that's it. I never got into N scale or G scale. Is a closet foamer? What? What are you talking about, man? I liked HO stuff, Taradra, because even 5-year-old EJ was obsessed with scale. And I liked HO scale because they were the closest scale to a Matchbox car. Holy crap, dude. I've always been a huge freaking nerd. Like, and not even the hey guys, I like nerdy things. Like no. My HO trains need to be scaled to the cars. Because if I'm going to make a train set, I need the cars to be scaled to the trains or else it's not going to look right. Oh, that's not good. That freaking super nerd. AKA Railfan, foam at the mouth when they see trains. Mile, I just like anything else, dude. Like, I get hype when I see airplanes and stuff, man. Like, dude, I'm the kind of guy that if I hear an airplane flying over, if I'm having a conversation, I'll keep the conversation going, but I will look. I will look at the damn plane. Without fail, every time, it's automatic. I don't do it on purpose. Yep. Yep. Yeah, no. I mean, that's just kind of how I am. But I like seeing trains, dude. Actually, freaking, I was driving around Boston the other day and I saw the commuter rail, right? Oh, excuse me. I was driving around Boston, I saw the damn commuter rail. I saw the Purple Line. The Purple Line was running an F40PH. Yeah, one of my favorite locomotives. F40PH, because screw you, I have 3,000 horsepower. Sorry, I had to say it normally. No, I was driving around. I was driving on the Mass Pike, and the old main line that goes right into South Station runs along the Mass Pike, runs along I-90, until you get to Newton, right? And then it splits, and it goes kind of south, I guess. And I saw an old school F40PH, but the thing is, Mile, they're replacing the fleet. The MBTA is replacing the fleet with some. It's some weird looking that thing. They're using, they still have some of these things, but they're replacing it with these things. Oh boy. It's no F40PH though. You know what I'm saying, man? It's no F40PH. F40PH is Chad tier locomotive. I mean, what the hell is this? What am I supposed to do with this, Mile? That's kiddie stuff? Hey, for a commuter rail, it's pretty cool. And F40PHs are good locomotives, and you know it. I mean, it's not an AC 6000, right? Like, I get it. But it's F40PH, bro. Like, what is this? Like, what am I supposed to... What is this? What is this? It looks like Jell-O. It looks like a Jell-O mold. It looks like they just took this nice aerodynamic shape and just crudely pasted it on like an F40PH. Why would someone do this? What is this? That's gross. It looks horrible. What is this? What is this called? I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. It's not an F40PH, alright? Alright? I like anything with F40. I like the automobile and the... Oh, see? Look at that. Look at that. Look at the number. Look at the number. How do you like those apples? Alright, look at that. That is Chad tier locomotive engineering right there, okay? Look at that. Look at that. It doesn't get better than that. It's a Skedden, alright? Look at the Skedden, okay? I want to know everything about this locomotive. That's really cool. What engine is it running? F40PHs? It's a diesel engine that makes 3,000 horse, dude. I forget. I forget. So it's an electromotive division diesel locomotive, and it's running a EMD 645. Nice. Nice. This thing is like as nutso as those generator engines that we saw driving into SpaceX HQ the other day. Lando, it's a light-duty locomotive over here, believe it or not. Mile High is right. These things are... This is a light-duty locomotive. It's really not... And you guys got to remember, dude, miles and miles of track. We have a ton of track. Like... You know, you can't electrify the whole damn thing. Well, you can. Some of it, actually, a lot of it is electrified nowadays. And I know, that's like we're coming out of the Stone Age. I get it. Our trains are designed to move freight. Ew. Ew. That's gross. Screw you, Metra. You should feel bad. The heavy-duty locomotives that go out and move freight around are the ones that Mile High is talking about. They're AC 6000s. These freaking things, 6,000 horse, man. And they, like, stack, like, 6 or 7 of them. Yeah, and they pull freight trains that are, like, 5 kilometers long. It's pretty cool. 4400s? Oh, I'm sorry. You don't have the big boy locomotive. 4400s are good, too. I like these locomotives. They're nice. But I was always, growing up, Mile, I was always an SD40 kind of guy. I thought SD40s looked amazing. That looks nice, though. There's high-speed rail in the northeast part of the U.S., guys. We have high-speed rail and passenger service. Oh yeah, we have that in the parts that are as dense a population as Europe. Yeah, we have passenger service and it works just fine. I mean, it could be better. Like, I'm not gonna sit here and say that it couldn't be. It could be better, but yeah, freaking trains, dude. Love trains. Feast your eyes on one of my most favorite photos. Is it a G-Tel? Is it a G-Tel? It's the G-Tel. Oh, yeah. Yeah, these are Chad tier locomotives right here. Oh, G-Tel and a big boy. I love it. Oh, I love everything about this picture. How do they do the gearing? So Doom, it's a diesel. You have a diesel generator, right? That's going into an alternator. It's going into an alternator, and then a battery pack. And the batteries, they work like batteries on a car. They're not like it's not designed for long-term storage, right? Because storing electricity is a pain in the butt, right? So the batteries work like the battery on an automobile, and they feed an electric engine. And the electric motor, you should say. And the electric motor is down in the bogies and has a huge reduction in it between the electric motor and the wheels. The motor is transverse inside of the bogie, so like a front-wheel drive car. And then the gear on the motor goes to the reduction, and the reduction is on the train axles. That's how they work. It's very simple, dude. There's a reason why they switched to doing stuff like this over this. This has so many moving parts. Yeah, the G-Tail. This thing over here has a jet engine in it. This locomotive. Jet motor. Seriously. It's got a gigantic jet turbine that's like the size of a 747 engine that runs on heavy oil, which is unreal. Like, it's like the turbine that you'd get from a ship. It makes ridiculous amounts of horsepower. It's almost NASA o'clock. They're going to be late, Jim, because they always are. Yeah, Ian, 4014 was my favorite locomotive. Those are actually my two favorite locomotives growing up, right there. I love the G-Tail and I love the Big Boy. Because, Ian, I have no idea why. I have no idea why, but young EJ had a keen sense of, like, how hard it is to build something that's bigger. I don't know how. Maybe it's from my dad telling me. That's probably it. But my dad's like, you know, when he was, you know, I remember like having conversations with my dad about big boys and stuff like a long time ago. Big boys, B-17s, 747s. And my dad working, so at the time in the 90s, my dad worked for Parker Hannifin. And he helped machine the oil pumps that are on the F-23, that were on the F-23 and that are on the F-22. They use the same oil pump in the engines, which is kind of cool. So my dad's worked in the aviation industry before, and he told me about all the planes and all this crazy stuff and all this, you know, how it's harder to build something bigger like that. And it is. It is. So I've always liked stuff that's bigger. I've been obsessed with scale since, like, I was 5, for whatever weird reason. Bill is up. All right, guys, we'll go over to State of NASA here. I have one bilobe tank finished. Yeah, we could have made more progress there. I'm not going to sit here and say that we couldn't, but sometimes I got to warm up. We'll hit this guns blazing after the State of NASA. I'm going to switch over to State of NASA now, and we'll see what's going on. Yeah, Ian, I built, yeah, see, I didn't like the Hot Wheels stuff, doing loops and stuff. I basically played cities with my Matchbox cars. And when I needed more buildings for my city, right, we couldn't go out and buy, like, all the sets because they were super expensive. So I did 2 things when I was younger, building road networks in cities. The 2 things that I did was we went to the dump, to the recycling center, right? It's just called the dump, I guess. And everybody would throw away hand-me-downs and stuff there, and I would go scour that for Hot Wheels and Matchbox track. Yeah, and then if I didn't have a building or something, I would just make it out of wood. I'd go find some 2x4 and cut it up and make little buildings and stuff and draw like shop fronts on it with a Sharpie. I made a huge city. I made like a 20-foot by 10-foot city in the basement, and it took up the entire basement. And yeah, this EJ played cities as a child, and if I needed to expand my city, I would do it more. I would expand the city more with whatever I could find. I mean, it makes perfect sense. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, I played football and stuff. Frick, I'm a huge nerd. Like, big nerd. All right, we'll switch over to State of NASA now.
Space has always been a passion for me.
Yeah, me too, Bill.
In the shadow of the Cape. The names of the original 7.
Oh, look.
All known by our schoolmates.
The audio sucks.
And it's been a passion that has been fueled by my family history. As a matter of fact, on what was scrub land of rattlesnakes and mosquitoes and alligators, in 1913, my grandparents homesteaded under the Homestead Act. That 160 acres of land was deeded to my grandmother in 1917. That 160 acres today is at the north end of the Space Shuttle runway.
Hey, that's cool. I didn't know.
When I went to
that's cool.
The launch pad for the first time, I was the 7th to crawl in and strap in, and I wandered off on that launch tower by myself, looking to the northwest in the direction of the old homestead. And it was just hard for me to comprehend that 3/4 of a century earlier, my grandparents had homesteaded there, and they could have never believed that a grandson was literally going to leave the face of the earth. And so, on the space shuttle, in between conducting 12 medical experiments